Hi, ladies. Sorry I'm not there. Just not feeling good. So I'm gonna go over the expectations again for your project. Maybe give you some suggestions that might support you or assist you in making sure that you know what you're doing and how you need to work on it. So again, just make sure you go back over the directions. There should be more of these papers clipped on the whiteboard over by the door. So you're gonna create an artifact that would be seen in a museum that represents what imperialism was and its impact on a colony. Okay, that's our objective. And you need to create one artifact. So students can choose from a variety of artifacts to create. Students must provide all materials needed to create their artifact. Students will have 2 days in class to create their artifact. That's going to be today and tomorrow. And this is going to count as your 10.4 grade. So they are again due right here, Monday, January 23rd at the beginning of class. If you finish it on Thursday, you can leave it in the classroom. There will be bins where you can drop your notebooks and where you can drop your artifacts. That'll be labeled for each period, so you can go in and do that, okay? All right, so let's make sure we understand what we're looking at. Again, it must be student created. Do not download something off the internet. I will know, and I will fail you for it. So please do not do it. Options include but are not limited to journal, letter, newspaper articles, political cartoons, diorama, timeline. So let's make sure we understand each one of these. Your journal and your letters need to have at least 5 of them. So at least 5 letters or 5 entries. You need to choose who is going to be, writing this, and you need to show multiple points of view. Again, the purpose of this is to show these points of view of imperialism and what you have learned and what you have mastered already. Same with the newspaper articles, but you only need 3. Now, when it comes to a lot of you asking me about your length is not going to be a determining factor in terms of what your grade is going to be. However, what you do in there, if you're using your vocab, are you using details, are you adding in, actual events and places and people, did you do your research, do you have a full understanding? So, perfect example. If you are going to write a journal from the point of view of a British opium dealer before the Opium War, you better be able to explain to me A, why they wanted to sell opium, B, how they were doing it, what the response was for the Chinese, so that I can see an understanding that you have over what that actually was. Same thing if you chose the Sepoy Rebellion, or if you are writing about, the strengths of going into Africa and Asia. If you're talking about resources, are you talking about actual understandings of this? I am looking to see that you understand your material, okay? Remember, the 3 newspapers and the letters need to have 2 different points of view. For the journal, you can choose 1 point of view because it's only 1 person. 2 political cartoons stating 2 different points of view of imperialism. You cannot just trace political cartoons that we have been looking at in class. You need to create your own political cartoons. You can be inspired by political cartoons that we've looked at in class. You can, however, not just trace them over and say, hey, this is my idea. It's not. So you need to come up with your own. And like we talked about in class, if you're not artistically challenged, please don't choose political cartoons, because if you draw me a bunch of stick figures, we're going to have a severe issue because your grade's going to be super low and you're going to be upset. The diorama should be some kind of 3D model showing off what living in the colony was like. Explain to some people. You could sit and you could show me, a battle from the Opium War. You could show me a battle from the Sepoy Rebellion. You could show me what it was like for the rubber trees, for the Congolese getting rubber from the rubber trees. You could show me what the tea plantations look like in India. Those are all options, okay? And then your last one is your timeline with 10 events with explanation and images that show the start and end of imperialism in one country. If you're going to make a timeline, it needs to show 10 events, and every single event has to have an explanation and has to have an image. And you're showing events from one country that was imperialized. So, for example, India, Congo, China. Okay, you can obviously do research and pull up additional countries that we might not have discussed about in class. Options that you might want to look at would be things like Egypt, things like the Sudan, things like South Africa. We haven't really spent a ton of time talking about them, but those were obviously all colonies. It's 10 events. The first event should be the British or the English or the French or the Scots or whoever it was taking over, showing up to that country and that country becoming a colony. The last event should be them gaining their independence. So there's 8 events in between that you need to show me. It's a timeline, which means that if you're telling me that they took over this country in 1873, your next event right next to it should not be from 1914. There should be a gap in time, okay? If you did not get an artifact approved by me, you're going to have to email me ASAP to get approval. Okay. And then along with this artifact, you need to write up a summary of the artifact, its connection to imperialism in your colony that you're picking or the colony that you're showing. Every artifact needs its own connection. Okay. Doesn't need to be super long. Think half a sheet of paper, just enough to be able to say, here's like our little placard that goes with our artifact. And then they must be historically accurate, meaning the size, shape, language, and the look of the artifact is correct for the time period. Again, no Hello Kitty journals just because that looked cute. Cover it up, make it look more historically accurate. And then be creative. If you are giving me something that is not very well made, don't complain to me that your grade is low. Okay? This again is replacing your 10.4 test, so you need to make sure that you do a good job because this is going to hit all your standards for this 10.4 unit. All right? If you finish your artifact, please don't forget that on Thursday your packet is due to me, which includes all of your assignments. So if your artifact is done, you should be working on finishing up that packet. Or if you know you're a little behind your packet, get your packet completed, put it in your bin for the period, and then start working on that artifact. You need to make sure that if you're doing some additional research, either A, you have a Chromebook, or B, using your red review book, or on that same set of shelves at the very bottom are a bunch of really thick yellow textbooks. You can use those as well if you need some additional research to just make sure that you have maybe dates or times or things like that correct. All right. If you have any other questions, you can always reach out to me and let me know, and I will support you in any way that I can from a distance. Have a great day, guys.